And we want to welcome back to Capitol Review Rich Anderson, the chairman of the Republican Party of Virginia. Rich, great to see you again. I understand you're back from a trip from California where GOP leaders all across the country met for the Republican National Committee's winter meeting. Now, this was an important meeting. Ronna McDaniel was reelected as chairwoman, and there was some conflict voiced to having her again. Talk to us about that.
Well, of course, the keynote event at the 2023 Republican National Committee winter meeting in California was the election of the chair of that body. Now, what is lost in all this is not only were we electing a chairwoman, but we were also electing a co-chair, which is essentially the vice chair, along with the national treasurer, who is the keeper of the funds, and a secretary. And then at the regional level, we have 4 regions here in the United States that the RNC is divided into. Well, I reside in the southern region, and we had to elect officers to lead the region also.
So with Ronna McDaniel, what do you want to see from her and her reelection?
Well, I'd like to see her in 2023 as a Virginian who leads the Republican Party of Virginia, where we are having state-level elections this year for the Virginia House of Delegates as well as the Senate of Virginia. I'd like to see them do what they have done for us in previous cycles, and that is to be there with us with resources, both manpower and money, advice, messaging, and all those things that help put together winning campaigns. That's definitely what I wish to see. And then on the flip side, when we get into 2024, to win back the White House and to, of course, return Republicans to the majority in the United States Senate.
Okay, so let's talk about that. So at the national level, we've all publicly seen the infighting within the Republican Party in the House. What's going to happen now with choosing a presidential nominee for 2024? What was talked about?
Well, we will have a convention. The Republican National Convention will be in 2024 in Milwaukee, Wisconsin, and it will be a traditional convention where Republicans delegates from all across the country, the 50 states and 6 territories will gather to nominate a president and vice president of the United States.
And Rich, what kind of presidential leader and vice presidential leader would you like to see for the Republican Party?
Well, I would like to see a leader who reflects the values of the Republican Party itself, who can lead this party and move this country forward. So that's the type of individual I would like to see. Right now, we only have one declared candidate. There are several suspected candidates. We will see how that plays out. But anymore in American politics, it seems like from the schoolhouse to the White House, we always have crowded fields on both sides of the aisle.
And, you know, I do have to ask, if Governor Glenn Youngkin does run, would you endorse him and back him in comparison to other names that we are hearing with former Governor Larry Hogan and former President Donald Trump, and now we're hearing Nikki Haley as well?
Well, regarding Governor Youngkin, he and I have never had a discussion about his political future or his intentions. There is considerable speculation among the public about that, but he and I have never discussed that. Actually, when we speak about party matters, we're talking about the political futures of others in our party who are going to seek office in various election cycles. But my role as chairman of the Republican Party of Virginia is to run a level playing field and to neither help nor hinder any given individual who is seeking office, whether it's local, state, or federal. And that's the posture that I will take on as we move through into the presidential cycle next year.
All right, Rich Anderson, Republican Party of Virginia chairman, thank you so much for being here and for your time. Really appreciate it.